Are we live? Are we live? Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Hey, I do believe that we're here. Welcome to 5 Day with Jay. I'm your host, J.R. Murdock. Thank you so much for joining me. Different camera angle today. That's number one. Hey, Jay, why the different camera angle? Why not? Mix things up. I'm trying something different. I always have the camera up high, pointing down low. Figured, you know what? Let's just get a straight on shot, see how that works. This will force me to focus more on the camera instead of looking out the window, looking up there, looking at the computer screen. Let's see how we do. That way it feels more like I'm talking to you versus talking in your general direction. When you have a conversation with somebody, you try not to look elsewhere while you're talking to them. You try and focus on them, right? Right. That's what we're going to try and do. So let's see if that works. I see Mr. Moody has joined us. Hey, Mr. Moody, how you doing this evening? Thank you so much for hopping on board. So glad that you're here. Number 2, pup date. Gracie is still learning. She's a puppy. We didn't get her when most people get a puppy, which is normally 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 10 weeks old. They're still very young at that age and still very impressionable. We got Gracie at 5, almost 6 months old. So she has some ways that she's set in. She has some certain quirks. She has little things about her that are coming out. We expected this. Just need to work past that, and we're working past that. We're learning about her as she teaches us about herself. Her personality is really starting to open up, especially when Maya and Coda come over and you can see them play. Oh my gosh, they're having such a good time. But once they leave, if she doesn't see me for a while, she seems to forget who I was. She doesn't see the missus, my wife for a while. Seems to forget who she was. It's strange. It really is. We're getting better at it. She's getting better at it. She's adjusting. I know. I get it. Sooner or later, things will fall into place. Number 3. While we had Gracie over the weekend, we did go out and do some stuff outside with her. My wife took her for walks. Had a great time doing that. We watched 2 movies this weekend. A friend of mine recommended, and he said, hey, this movie is just like a prequel to Deadpool. Okay, let's see what this is. And the movie was The Hitman's Bodyguard. And the second movie was The Hitman's Bodyguard, The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. Ryan Reynolds, Samuel Jackson, need I say more? The movies were lots of action, lots of humor, very over the top, much as you would expect. We had a great time watching those movies. They were a lot. We watched the first one, and it's like, there's a sequel. There's a sequel. You want to watch the sequel? Salma Hayek is the wife. Great. Antonio Banderas was in the sequel, as was Morgan Freeman. Oh my gosh, just one nonstop hit after another, and it's like, oh my gosh, they're not really going to go. Oh, they went there. Yeah, they went there. It was fun. We had a blast watching those 2 movies over the weekend. Also over the weekend, number 4, I spent a good deal of time finishing up all of the Going Wide with 9 books. Estelle, Billy Barbarian, Paradise Palms, Supernatural Learning 1, 2, and 3, Golden West 1, 2, and 3. It was an effort. I posted a long blog post about it. If you'd rather go read about it than listen to me talk about it, that's fine. I'm not going to talk ad nauseum about it. A lot of lessons were learned. One of the biggest things that I learned doing this was Kobo has the easiest interface for getting an ebook uploaded, and that's all I'll say about that. It was the easiest method I've ever dealt with. Draft to digital, a little bit more involved than Kobo. Not much, but a little bit more. There were some quirks that I ran into in Draft to Digital. One, you cannot have a link to any other affiliate that is not the other affiliates that you're dealing with regarding Draft to Digital. I had a link to Amazon.com, to my Amazon author page. No. You cannot have a link to anything Amazon because all of the other bookstores, ebook stores, will reject the book. Corrected it, uploaded fresh copies. Then I got the second error from Draft to Digital where it said, no, 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 your books are still in Kindle Unlimited. And I'm thinking, well, I'm doing a pre-order. It doesn't know when my Kindle Unlimited ends. Therefore, it just said, no, you're in Kindle Unlimited. You cannot put the book up on our store until Kindle Unlimited drops off. Then you can resubmit. Everything's already uploaded. Everything's ready to go. As soon as they fall out of Kindle Unlimited, the day after tomorrow, I'll get them all punched and get them ready for pre-order. Get them up there. Kobo, it didn't care. Barnes & Noble, it didn't care that they were in Kindle Unlimited either. Let's talk about Barnes & Noble for a moment. The Barnes & Noble process is by far and away the most cumbersome process for getting an ebook out there. Part of me wished I would have put the books out on Draft to Digital and just check the Kobo box and check the Barnes & Noble box, one-stop shopping, been done with it. Barnes & Noble was a pain in the rump. It kept telling me invalid ebook. I would download it, it would put it in its displayer, just fine. Everything looked good on its display. Upload the cover, invalid cover. Open it up, everything looks just fine in their viewer. I don't know why it had a problem. Every single book I ran into that same problem, and just check the checkbox, move on, let's keep going. But beyond that, Barnes & Noble has, rather than just having multiple fields on a single page, it's one click and wait, one click and wait, couple of fields, click and wait. It was frustrating. As I said, I almost wish I would have just checked the boxes in Draft to Digital and published them there. The reason I didn't is because Draft to Digital, excellent that it distributes everywhere, but they take their cut as their due. They're providing a service. They are, as their service, putting your books on all of the bookstores for you. Totally get it. I totally understand. I have no problem with them taking their cut. But when it came to Barnes & Noble and Kobo and Amazon, I felt I had done this process before and I fully understood how the process worked. Kobo really hasn't changed their process. They might have streamlined it better, but not a lot has changed there. Amazon, I've been putting stuff up there for years. I know how it works. I had a lot of books that I pulled out of all the other bookstores quite some time ago, put them in Kindle Unlimited. Not a problem. When it came to Barnes & Noble, they really changed their process. I do not remember it being so cumbersome or complicated. And it really set me back. It took me back. I was surprised at just how complicated they had made it. To answer your question, Mr. Moody, yes, I use Scrivener for all of my compiling needs. When I compile the ebook, I use Scrivener. It gives you the ability to go through and put things in a certain category, whether it's a section, subsection, heading, whatnot, and allows you to say, here, this is how I want that specific section to format. When I format it, it allows me to format it. I save the ebook. I can pull the ebook up in an ebook viewer and immediately see, okay, everything looks good. Yep, everything is exactly how I want it. Change the screen size so I can see, okay, yes, everything still looks good. Had a good time getting all of the ebooks set up, so I knew my ebooks looked good. Kindle, no problem taking it. Kobo, no problem taking it. Draft to Digital, no problem taking it. Barnes & Noble, no idea. No idea why B&N, Barnes & Noble had a problem with the ebooks, with the covers, with everything. I really don't know. I don't remember, as I said, it being as cumbersome of a process as it currently is. The reason I chose not to go directly through Draft to Digital, as I said, I know how to do all of those myself. So I'm saving myself that small percentage that Draft to Digital would take. If I did everything through Draft to Digital, Barnes & Noble would take their cut, Draft to Digital would take their cut, I would get my final net profit. As I said, I felt I knew enough about those other sites to get them up there, and it wasn't going to be a problem. Silly me. But those 9 are up there. I think the reason I had such a difficult time with the whole process across all the different sites was because I was uploading so many books at one time. I was doing 9 books at once. Doing one book, it won't be a problem when I get another one that I feel like uploading there. For right now, those 9 are the only 9 that are going to be out there for a while. I may take Murdockian Tales, the actual compilation of all the short stories, and put those out there. We shall see. The short stories are up on Kindle Unlimited, so if you wanted to read through all of my short stories, they're all out there. Go crank through them, read them all. I want to get the short story compilations ready to go. They're up for pre order. One thing I did fail to mention last week, the print version of Almost Superheroes Book 2 went live. My apologies, I forgot to let everyone know about that. Next month, we've got Murdockian Tales, Volume 1, ebook edition, and the month after that, the print edition, and then V&A Shipping 3. I'm excited for V&A Shipping 3 to come out. By that time, I will have at least one other book under my belt, hopefully 2. I'm hoping to have GRPC 3 under my belt, as well as Almost Superheroes Book 3. It'd be nice to have all of those done before the end of the year, because that will get me going into next year with a backlog. I will still have Murdockian Tales Book Volume 2. I'll probably have Murdockian Tales Volume 3 almost ready to go at that point. So I will have plenty of books ready to go for next year. That's definitely not a concern. And as I build up speed, I'll look at releasing books faster, but for right now, every other month, that's where we're going. We're having a good time with the publishing, going at it. We're doing it. We're climbing small hills. We're making a little bit of progress. It's slow. It's slow progress. I fully expected this. If you've been following this chain of videos, blog posts over the past 6-7 months now, probably closer to 8 months, I've been planning this for a while. I knew I needed to completely rebuild my audience. I needed to completely rebrand myself. I needed to get on a schedule and be consistent with that schedule. That was my biggest challenge. It's what I'm doing. We're doing it right now. We're on that schedule. Things are coming out. We're rocking and rolling. We're having a good time. It's a good time to be publishing. I keep saying that, but moving on to topic number 5. This is the one that's probably going to bore everybody, but you know what? It's exciting for me because I've been doing a lot of research on it. When you find something that interests you, you do a little bit of research. Now, I've got a cell phone. Most people have a cell phone. They take okay pictures. But if I'm going to take a selfie, no problem. Selfie right there. If I'm going to focus on something, if sunset, sunrise, clouds in the sky, whatever, it's great. But if I'm going to zoom in on something that's, say, a bird on this tree right outside, it's not going to do that great of a job. It will have the digital blurring that you'll see when you zoom in too much because the digital zoom isn't spectacular. I get that. I'm working on that. So the first thing I had bought was this little lens. It clips onto the cell phone right there. It's supposed to be a 12 times zoom. You know what? Let's put on my glasses. I learned a lot, so let me put on my glasses and actually read this one. So it claims to be a 20 times zoom. I can tell you here now, this is not a 20x zoom. What I believe the 20x is referring to on this is the diameter of this lens, 20 millimeters. Not a 20 times zoom. A lot of people were complaining that it was definitely not a 20 times zoom. It might be a 10 or 12. Might be. And it's a good sized lens when you're clipping on your cell phone, and it does take okay pictures. I didn't have a problem with it. But the more I used it, the more I realized I needed something a little bit better. I thought, hey, we've got this little pair of binoculars. Again, I talked about this the other day. I don't remember where we got these. I believe somebody might have forgotten them in my car. And if you know these binoculars, if you're like, hey, I remember those. I left those in your car 15 years ago. Well, let me know. I'll get them back to you. But they're good little binoculars. They're not terrible, but they're not quality. I was surprised that looking them up, they are about $75. They're not inexpensive. And they're okay. They're okay for what they are. But again, these are, you can see the numbers there, 12x25. So these are 12 times zoom. So this will zoom up to 12 times, and the diameter of the lens is 25 millimeters. They're not bad. They're not bad. They work okay. And that's where I started to learn a lot about binoculars, was this tiny little pair. I started reading all the different numbers that were on it and all the different ratings on it. And I started reading more about binoculars because I thought, I love looking at the birds on the tree. I really want to take pictures of the bird on the tree that are better quality pictures. I want to be able to zoom in better and be able to focus really well. Well, that's a tiny little lens on the camera. Getting a slightly bigger lens allows you to have a better focal point. You don't have to use the digital zoom as much. Going up a little bit, I mean, this really wasn't significant, but there was always an improvement. So I started researching binoculars. And these particular binoculars, they're 12x42. So 12 times zoom, 42 millimeter lens. Bigger lens, more light gets in. These ones are really frickin' clear. And they were the same price as these. But it was on sale. And it had a coupon. So rather than paying almost $90 for this pair of binoculars, which are a good pair of binoculars, and I highly recommend them, they were $30. I think $33 in total. So these are at Aragon, but they're good quality. I'll link to them in the show notes. They are, they got a field of view of 114 meters at 1,000 meters, so good focus, good clarity. It also came with this particular attachment, and I was about to buy one of these attachments for this set of binoculars. You can see it goes over the lens, but this one's obviously bigger. The one I was looking at was adjustable. That alone would have been $20, but this fits perfectly over this lens. It's designed for this set of binoculars, obviously, and it was neat to put them on there. I would show you the tripod, but the GoPro is currently sitting on that tripod because I set it up. I'm like, hey, this is a nice little tripod. I put away my other tripod. The other tripod is, it's got all those, it looks like a knobby leg, but it's bendy, and there's a wire that goes down in the foam. I had one pair, I wound up breaking them because you bend them too many times, they're going to break. This one particular tripod is all plastic. It's adjustable. It's not the world's greatest tripod, but again, if I were to buy a tripod, this little tripod, that would have been another $15-20. The whole set also got a clip. This little knob here on the end unscrews, and you can screw in a post here, and you can mount this on a tripod. So that's what the tripod that it came with was. So that way it sits and it focuses on one area. Allows you to clip on your cell phone. Your cell phone just goes in here, and you put that on the binoculars, and you take pictures of the binoculars. I haven't tried it with a tripod yet. I have taken pictures with my cell phone through the binoculars. Way better than this little guy, obviously, because, I mean, compare the size. Far better optics, far better glass, far better clarity. Even just looking through this one, you can tell it's an inferior product. This, I bought a whole set of lenses. The whole set of lenses were like $20, and this was the only one that was worth anything. But again, these ones, okay quality, but very small lenses. They don't get a lot of light, not a lot of clarity. Bigger lens, more light, better clarity. What this got me to thinking is, I really would like to get some nighttime shots with this. If you follow my Instagram, I take pictures of the moon every once in a while. And with my cell phone, or even with this lens, no, you really don't get great clarity. They're not terrific. I haven't had a chance to use these yet because the day they showed up, it was raining and it's been overcast every day since. I got them on the day of a full moon. I'm sorry, the day after a full moon. So I remember seeing the full moon and I'm like, wow, I wish the binoculars were here so I could take this picture. And every night I've wanted to take a picture, but a little bit of cloud. These ones are supposed to be okay for viewing the moon, viewing stars a little bit better, a little closer. It's a new hobby. I'm having fun with it. I'm having fun exploring, reading about lenses, reading about glass quality, reading about different viewing angles, different viewing methods, different ways to take pictures. I began looking at larger binoculars. Obviously, the next thing would be to step up to either a larger size of binocular or a better quality of binocular. These were, like I said, I think they were $75 or $80, and I got them for $30. So I don't feel that was a bad investment. $30 for something I don't know if it's going to be a hobby I want to get into, or if it's something I'm just goofing around with. At the moment, I'm just goofing around with it. If this develops into something more, like I did with podcasting, I'll invest a little bit of money into it. I have fun with my podcasting. I invested in microphones. I invested in a mixing board. I invested in a new computer, which hopefully you can't hear. I'll talk about the computer in a moment. But it's fun to have little hobbies like this and to research. What I want to get at with all of this binocular discussion, whether I bored you to tears or not, I will apologize. I learned a lot reading about binoculars and studying, going to watching videos on binoculars and having them discuss what all the numbers on the binocular mean and how they work, how they function, what do they do, why is this pair of binoculars not as good as this pair? Because I wouldn't, yes, I can see that there's a difference, but why is there a difference? And that's what I wanted to know is, what am I looking for a better pair? I'm learning. I'm learning something new, and I'm having a blast learning something new. These are the things I do as a writer, is I don't just sit down and write something and just pull everything out of my head. Yes, action might be moving along. Yes, characters might be doing something. But for example, Jack Kane and the new book that we're working on, Jack Kane Book 3, that Mike and I are working on, I'm having fun learning about trains, learning about the destination from New York to Washington, D.C. What are all the stops along the way? Why would a train not go direct to D.C. and direct back? What, if it's a touristy type of thing, where would they stop? Where would these pit stops be? And how long could they make it take to have a vacation trip from New York to D.C.? Back in the time when the book is happening, a train was able to get from New York to D.C. in about half a day. Therefore, it would get to D.C. and it would turn around and come back. So in a day, it would go back and forth. So I'm having fun working things like that into the story. Why is the train that Jack is on, Jack and Betsy's dad, why is that train going slower? It's not getting business people to and from, or politicians from one location to the other. They're tourists. They're vacationers. They're relaxing. They're having a good time and enjoying their trip. And I'm having fun writing this trip. So that's what I'm getting at with all this talking about binoculars. And the reason I wanted to talk about binoculars, it's all about learning something new. As a writer, always be out there learning something new. As an artist, always be out there learning something new. I follow a tremendous amount of artists on TikTok. And every time I watch a TikTok, I learn something new. I'm learning about acrylic pours. I'm learning about people making candles, people making soap, people making paintings, doing the pour and letting the paint flow around. Painting methods, how they layer certain things. They'll do a rough shape and then they'll fine tune it. I'm learning a lot, even though I will probably never paint ever in my life. But it's fascinating to see how people use this process. Like people taking a dish and pouring in a layer of acrylic and then painting on it, and a layer of clear acrylic and painting on it. And you see them as they build layers, they're painting a fish or a dragon or something. My mind doesn't work like that. I couldn't do that, but it's fascinating to watch people do that and see the process they go through. People making candles. I've seen some fascinating candles in a jar where they have clear wax, and when it solidifies, it's still clear. So they'll put a little diorama at the bottom of the candle. I think it's brilliant. I think it's really neat to see them do things like that. Uh, Again, my brain doesn't work like that. I probably could learn how to do it, but it's just not something that my brain jumps to. So it's fun to see people making these things and how they do it, and going and visiting their stores, their Etsy stores, and seeing what they make and how much they're selling this for. People making bookmarks, people doing all kinds of things like that. And it's a lot of fun to learn little things like this. Let's talk about the computer for a second. I learned something new about the computer. I had mentioned a few days ago that the battery on the CMOS battery, CMOS, the CMOS battery on the computer kept dying. This is the third battery I've put in it, and it's frustrating, and I don't know what's happening. So I kept reading and reading and reading, and somebody said, update your BIOS. I have a software on the machine to update the BIOS. I hit the easy update button. It updated the BIOS, restarted. It was still the same version. I updated from online. Why do I have the same version? Went to the website. I said, well, maybe that's the latest version and I just need to deal with this. No, there are several versions of the BIOS that came out in the past year since I updated that computer. I downloaded the correct BIOS, the most recent BIOS version, went back to the software to do the update by file, told it where the file was. It updated the BIOS. And not only did it update the BIOS, it redid all the fan profiles. And I don't know what happened, but when I updated the BIOS, updated the fan profiles, reapplied my overclocking, it's now running faster, it's running cooler, it's more stable, and I'm thinking the battery might not die as often as it has been. But at least I know if it does die, I know what the problem is. I know how to fix it. It's frustrating, it's annoying, but I can get in there, get it done, and get the computer back and running in a few minutes. Maybe half an hour, a couple screws. But it's a known problem. If it happens again, as I said, I can correct it. I'm learning something, constantly learning, having a good time. At any rate, I'm about to sign off. Let me just say, Mr. Moody, if you're already signed up for my newsletter, awesome. I will be sending a newsletter tonight to let people know that the print version of Almost Superheroes Book 2 is live. They can go pick up a copy. For those who do pick up a copy, thank you. I appreciate you. I will be doing a By the Numbers this week. By the Numbers for the month of September. We'll go over subscribers on the newsletter, subscribers on all of the social medias, how many sales we had, where are we at money-wise, reaching that $100 in 6 months goal that I had. Again, very small goal, but achievable. We're almost there. I think we can do it. I think we can do this. And again, I'm trying to do it all organically without buy, push, advertise. I don't want to do that just yet. I want to get a little bit further down the road before I really start pushing hard when it comes to advertising and selling. I want to make sure that the schedule is working for at least 1 year before I really start to do something like that. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm going. At any rate, I'm going to sign off. Mr. Moody, thank you so much for joining me. This has been 5 A Day with Jay. I've been Jay. Thank you so much for joining me.